you guys, this is the Rainbow Brigade, and today we're going to talk about action movies, in particular Hobbes Shaw. We just saw it today, and we both really loved it. And just basically we want to talk about how it's different from other action movies that we've seen in the past that are popular, particularly mainstream movies like The Avengers.
Oh wow, yes, we're going there.
We're going to go there, we have to go there.
Okay, so I think the reason why Cheyenne is going there is because Hobbes and Shaw had more than just token representation, and we really love that about them.
It was great.
Yeah, I mean, the two guys and one girl thing was overdone, but you know, I think it still had its finer points.
Yeah.
But, okay, so we should talk about the plot.
By the way, I think we should mention, this is my first ever Fast and Furious movie I've ever seen, and I will see the rest of them now because that movie was so good.
We're planning on binging them together.
Yes, indeed.
Okay, so the Hobbes and Shaw plot was actually quite fascinating to me because as a person who has viewed all of Fast and Furious and loves it, it was really fun because it was an extension of the universe, but it did not require like prior knowledge. It was just like, it could be a fun standalone movie if you wanted it to be. And the plot was very solid. It had like a clear cut start, beginning, and end, and it had like clear cut, like a clear cut driving force, and it was very clear about what it wanted from you. And then at the end you got like a few extra snapshots. And one of the things I did love about Hobbes and Shaw was the classic Fast and Furious editing, where they would just snapshot scenes next to each other, or when they were introducing you to a new location, they would just show you like pieces of the location and just snapshot it right next to each other, one after another. And it was very fascinating.
As someone who's never seen any of the movies, I really enjoyed it because they introduced these characters right away, and you could tell who they were, how they were different, how they were alike. And it was just really good. Like Claire said, the setting was good, the pacing was great. You could tell automatically that everything made sense. It wasn't just like, again, bringing up Avengers, I think it was, I want to say it was Age of Ultron, they just kind of like drop you into like a battle in the beginning of the movie and you have no clue what's going on. This movie established its characters and its settings very well. And it was set in reality, which you could tell it was a little, the tech in it was a little unbelievable, but also
it was the Fast and Furious cinematic universe.
Sure.
You had to be there to get it, Cheyenne.
Okay. But yeah, as Claire said about token representation, first off, throughout the movie, of course, the main characters are Hobbes and Shaw, and Hobbes is black and
Hobbes is not black.
Well, The Rock.
Oh, The Rock is black, but Hobbes is Samoan.
He's black and Samoan, The Rock is. I feel like that was part of his...
Okay, cool. I did not know that. You learn something new every day, folks.
But just having a main actor who is a person of color, alongside, of course, a British white guy. I don't know if he's actually British in real life.
Jason Statham is not British.
Okay.
And a woman. That was nice.
That was great.
Oh, we also had just like about 5 awesome minutes of a female squad. It was an all-female squad, and they were just like very diverse, and I'm so sad that we didn't get to see more of them. Fast and Furious like cinematic universe, if we get a movie about these ladies, I would die.
That would be great.
You can have all my money.
I think so yeah, of course the main characters were a person of color and a non-people of color, but throughout the movie, just everywhere you looked, you saw different people. You saw Asian people, you saw black people, you saw Hispanic people, you saw everything throughout the movie in different roles, as good guys, as bad guys, as just run-of-the-mill people just walking around in the background, which you don't often see.
I know, that was like really exciting for me, that it was an action movie and it was set in an, I'm going to call this an alternate universe.
Sure.
Fast and Furious is set in an alternate universe that runs parallel to the real world, but sometimes it just diverges a little with better tech, sexier cars.
Okay, I have to admit this. I'm not a car person, I'm not really like a vehicle person, but those cars were amazing. There's these motorcycles that just, I want a motorcycle like that. I would probably crash and burn 1,000 times a day, but I want that.
Can't ride a motorcycle because that's how you lose another leg. Okay, so I think one of the things that made Hobbs and Shaw so great was the fast-paced timing of the action and the jokes. And it was very fast-paced, but it also gave you like time to breathe.
Yeah.
Which was really refreshing because
It was
you'd have like one moment of like Hobbs and Shaw just snapping at each other, and then you'd have a cut to other people going, I don't want to deal with this. Can I please go home now?
There was also a great fight scene that was also acting as like a time to breathe. When Hobbs and Shaw tried to basically infiltrate a
secret cult.
Secret cult area. As they were trying to enter, they both chose different doors to enter in. They're kind of opposite each other, so they had like a window that you could look through into both rooms. And one room was a bunch of people, and another was just one gigantic man. Hobbs got the gigantic man, Shaw got the group of people. And you would expect, like, Daredevil had a similar scene where in season 2, where Daredevil is fighting people in a hallway, and he's like using the space to fight people effectively. And it was a very similar scene, except for in this scene, you also had Hobbs as acting as comedic relief because he had that one person who just took him out immediately, and so he was just chilling, like being like, hurry up, come on, Shaw. And Shaw, of course, beat other people down, and most people would end the scene there, just move on. But he had to use someone to open the door, and they kept the gag going for longer than most people would have, and it was perfect each and every time.
Yeah. It was like, you would expect it to get tiring, but like around the time you expected it to get tiring, they were just like, okay, we're gonna give you guys the relief. And then at the end of the gag, there's another gag that's made even funnier by how long it took them to get there. And it was great. And I love like the comedic timing and pace of it. And I think one of the things that added to the comedic timing was the sheer absurdity of the villains. Because Idris Elba as the main villain has some great lines like, I'm Black Superman.
It was amazing.
As soon as he said that, I was just like, Idris Elba, I will crawl into whatever hole you want me to crawl into, and I will die for you. And I think that's an emotion shared by a lot of people, but apparently not Cheyenne.
I'm not a huge Idris fan.
Idris was amazing.
He was great in this, okay? He was a great villain, and he was one of those villains who believes in his cause a lot, which I really appreciate.
He was a little one-tone because of it. It was always like, this is...
He was always at 100.
Yeah, he was always at 100. And then there was that scene at the end where he just casually disposes of the force working with him, and he makes little jokes about it.
Yeah, he's like, take a day off kind of thing. Like, he like threw someone out of a helicopter, and she's like,
it's like, calm down, son. That's like your
just take
colleague,
it down
your ally. And I think one of the other things that was really well done about Hobbs and Shaw was the star power. That's usually when you see star power, it's usually a precursor to, oh, we don't believe this movie will stand well enough on its own, so we're going to have some big names to attract you. But Hobbs and Shaw had big names, but they weren't the main attraction. They were just there as like comedic side pieces. And when you saw them, you were just like, this is a nice little surprise. It's like finding a treat inside cake. You're like, I already have cake.
Or something?
Yeah, I guess. But that sounds horrible because Skittles give you diabetes. But you know.
So does cake.
Okay, that's fair. So it's like diabetes inside cake, but good diabetes.
Yeah, great diabetes.
Yeah. So you were just sitting there like, I was not expecting this, but this is a fun side piece and I am genuinely enjoying this. And the stars that they had mostly played off of The Rock, let's be honest. And they played really well off of The Rock. And may I just say, Mr. Rock, sir, I respect you so much as Luke Hobbs and your overall friendliness. Oh, another comedic gag worth talking about is the names.
Oh, the names.
We can't spoil them for you because we really want them to hit you with the proper power.
I mean, they use one of them in the previews when they're in the airport.
Oh.
I've seen that in commercials.
Okay,
but
watch the previews. They'll be like...
at least one of the names used.
Yeah.
But throughout the time, there was like a few different gags like that. And they're dumb and childish, but it's fun dumb and childish. It's not like, oh, come on, a fart joke. It's not like that. It's like dumb in a good way. It's well done.
Yeah, it's like if you're still a 12-year-old, your inner 12-year-old laughs at it. if you have a sense of humor. If you don't, it's just like, oh, this is overdone. But you're just like, you're still having fun. We had a lot of fun. We spent the entire time cracking up and drinking water to replenish ourselves after laughing to death.
Another thing, the action was great. I think I have a big problem with action movies that they're not well lit. You know, if you're like in the middle of a battle scene, again, Avengers, I'm sorry to keep calling you out like this, but in Endgame, I could barely see what's going on in the final battlefield. And I get that it was like late at night or whatever, but like I couldn't see anything. I couldn't tell what was going on. In Hobbes Shaw, most of the action happened in broad daylight, in the middle of the street. And
if it wasn't in broad daylight, they had freaking firelight. Okay, so they had these really awesome scenes where even if it was dark at night, they had like amazing fireworks and it was just illuminating everything. They had a battle scene at dawn.
At dawn. And you could still see things. Like, of course, there was like a few times where like it was shadowed, but it's because it's dawn. You could still see the people fighting. Like, they were lit by the side or... it was great, just being able to see the action, because I love watching people fly through buses and stuff.
Oh my god, that was amazing. I'm still not over that.
Never will.
I think, okay, so we've been talking about the dudes a lot, but the women really brought another dimension to this whole movie, because there was Shaw's sister, Hattie. Hattie was amazing.
Was Hattie?
Yeah, her name was Hattie.
Literally never got her name throughout the whole movie.
I just googled it.
Oh lord.
So don't worry. I just
Hattie's
googled it.
a horrible name. I'm so sorry, honey.
It is,
oh,
but
Lord.
like if Dame Helen Mirren names you Hattie, what are you gonna do?
I guess
You're gonna
you
call
gotta
yourself
take it.
Hattie
I'm
for
Hattie
the rest
now.
of your days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Hattie was amazing. She was the perfect foil to Hobbes and Shaw, because when she got fed up with their BS,
she literally just walked away.
She literally just walked away, or she just pushed them apart from each other, and I really love that about her. And when we first introduced to her, she is very capable. Not once is she the damsel in distress, even when she should be the damsel in distress.
Like,
even when she has like poison coursing through her veins, Hattie's still like, no sir, I'm here to get stuff done, please and thank you, get on with your way.
Yeah.
And my personal favorite character was obviously Mrs. Hobbes, Hobbes' mom. She was amazing.
Queen. Honestly, the best character, great representation, because again, Hobbes is Samoan, and they actually had actual Samoans playing actual Samoans. I don't know, like, it's an unbelievable thing to me that they had that kind of representation. They had like at least 20 different people of Samoan descent playing actual Samoan people. It was beautiful.
And they had like Samoan slang in it.
And accents and just using their own language. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and I was grateful for the subtitles. I just say that.
Yeah.
And they performed like this glorious and beautiful haka that we were just like, oh my god, thank you so much. Like, we don't have any experience with this, but this was generally fun to watch and experience somebody else's culture, especially a culture like Samoan culture, because you don't get a lot of representation like that in the United States. I can think of the last one, the closest it was Jason Momoa and his Hawaiian descent in Justice League. Because Zack Snyder, I love you and I respect you, but you gotta admit there were faults.
I think another great thing about the representation, they actually had Samoan music playing when they first introduced Samoa, and it's just a beautiful language. It was amazing.
Oh, and the scenery shots. The scenery shots were so nice because it was an action movie, right? You were getting all this action, and then you just had this one idyllic moment of peacefulness where you were just looking at nature and you're just like, oh, now I get it. Okay, because this is nice.
In this movie, I think there's at least 4 major locations that are all very separate and very different. I think Los Angeles, London, Moscow, and Samoa. And so they had these beautiful establishing shots where they showed these places and the people in these places. It was great. And especially when they got to Samoa, beautiful, beautiful island.
Continuing on the women though, so we had Hattie, Shaw's sister, Mrs. Hobbes' mom, and then we have Shaw's mom, played by Dame Helen Mirren, who is amazing, iconic. We're so grateful to be in her presence. We're so happy to have her here, and she was so beautiful in this movie and classy as always.
It was amazing.
And
honestly.
The criminal, like, if you watch Fast and Furious, I think it was 5 or 6, and she was there. This was like an expansion of her role where she was still a minor character, But when she was there in the scenes, she took precedence. And even when she wasn't speaking, you were just like, I am in awe. Thank you. And
She's honestly an icon in that scene.
And beyond that, there was the all-female squad led by Marina, a Hispanic woman, y'all. A Hispanic woman was playing, and she was amazing. And I counted like the number of women in the background, and there were like 4 other women in her
squad. Yeah.
Main squad. And there was 1 Asian woman, 1 black woman, and I think the other 2 were of like ambiguous descent, and 1 was white. And it was just so beautiful to see that. I was just like, are you telling me you have an interracial, all-female squad running around, mucking about, and causing people pain? Like, you were introduced to them breaking up a mob operation in a big house in Moscow. That was their opening shot. That was amazing.
Taking it back to Hattie real quick, she, beautiful woman. I don't know who plays her. Like, I recognize her, but I don't know her name.
We can look it up and see it.
Yeah, but her role was kind of your typical femme fatale. Vanessa Kirby played this kind of what you would expect to be like a stereotypical femme fatale role. You know, she's like fighting people. She's using her lithe body to like get in and out of places, but she's also using these big guns. She was working with MI6, so when you first were introduced to her, they're like on a mission, and they're like, you know, in their outfits using like big guns. It was really cool, but seeing her fight was really refreshing. It kind of reminded me of Black Panther, the way that she fought, because they weren't fighting in these clean, quick ways. Like, again, Avengers, Black Widow, how she fought, you know, using her. It was very sexy the entire time when Black Widow was fighting. And of course, Vanessa Kirby was a beautiful woman, but it wasn't focusing on her body in the same ways. It just was focusing on her.
Vanessa Kirby had a fight scene with The Rock where it ended in an unexpected manner, but the entire time she was fighting The Rock, you were actually rooting for her.
And you thought she was going to win. She almost won.
She almost won. If it wasn't for The Rock being The Rock, she would have won. And Vanessa Kirby was just like amazing in all her fight scenes, especially at the end, where there's this scene where it's like, it's part of the climax of the movie, and Vanessa Kirby uses like her body, her brain, and when I say her body, not in like the sexy femme fatale way, she's like, I will deck you.
Yeah.
I will deck you.
I think at some point she did like headbutt someone, right?
Yeah, she literally headbutts. I think she tries to headbutt The Rock, which is
The Rock, I think she did.
That's amazing. I appreciate that in a woman. And I think one of the things that I really loved about Vanessa Kirby is that she had her own tagline a la James Bond, and it wasn't stupid. She's like, oh, hey, are you new here? Because it kind of seems like you knew. Yeah. And she said it in multiple languages. So you knew that she practiced this in front of a mirror. That's why she got it down.
Rosetta Stone in her ears, like saying it. Oh my god, I can imagine that.
And Vanessa Kirby makes a Star Wars reference, which, nice.
Another thing I want to touch on is the layout of the movie, because the scene we were talking about earlier where they're like storming the castle kind of thing.
Secret cult base.
Yeah. That would have been the climax of basically any other action movie. Like, honestly.
And it was the middling part of Hobbes Shaw.
Like, so I was watching this and like, this is, the climax seems a little early on. Isn't the movie like, I feel like I've only been here for a little while. But that scene was great. It was full of action, and I just loved that there was at least, the final battle was where you would least expect it, and they were fighting in ways you would not expect. And another thing, recently we were just talking about a post that said, the Avengers found family baited us. This movie, they delivered on the family and like friends and like community feelings, you know. You're sitting there.
To be fair, Fast and Furious usually always does, because Fast and Furious is family in cars. That's the ultimate
getting coffee.
It's really fascinating to see how that bleeds into Hobbes and Shaw, because in Fast and Furious, you only have one pair of siblings, and that's what was his name? Dom Toretto and his sister Mia. Yeah, Dom and Mia Toretto were the only siblings that we had in Fast and Furious for quite a while, and it was nice. It was fascinating to see Dom and Mia build their own family around them together, and it was really nice. But Hobbes and Shaw delivered on that in a completely different manner, in that Hobbes and Shaw started out antagonistically, but by the end,
ended that way too.
no, by the end, okay, first they started antagonistically as like bro dudes who were like rivals,
Mm-hmm.
and then by the end it was just like, oh, you're my brother, so now I'm just going to completely mess with you and ruin your day just for giggles. And
True.
it was different, and we really love that. And I love the familial aspects of Hobbes and Shaw, because Hobbes and Shaw had their own two separate families, and each family had like different things that they stood for.
Mm-hmm.
But funnily enough, both had crime histories.
Yeah.
And that was really fascinating to watch how their families were different and yet still somehow together, because
Mm-hmm.
they both had like strong female role models.
Yeah.
They both had good sibling relationships that turned sour at a point in their life, but then
Because
they made it up.
The other sibling felt like betrayed by the Hobbes and Shaw, and I love that they had Hobbes apologize to his brother and say I love you,
Oh my god, yes.
and you could see like the tears in their eyes. You almost
That was the
God.
manliest thing I ever saw on TV.
It was so beautiful.
On a big screen. It was like, it was so nice to watch them, because you saw the entire movie and how they spent like the time being awkward around each other. And the first time Hobbes meets his brother, he gets decked, which is a great way to introduce a sibling relationship, by the way. It is
really
an
is
accurate and great
realistic.
way to introduce a sibling relationship, because Hobbes' brother, so Jonah, Hobbes' brother, the first time Luke Hobbes comes back after a couple of years, Jonah goes, well, you know what's going to happen next, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
And Hobbes goes, yeah, make it quick. And then he just decks him down a flight of stairs, and it was beautiful, because given the chance, I too would do that to either of my brothers. I think Fast and Furious, we talked a lot about the comedy aspect of it, but there were also some moments where you were just like, wow, you guys are really giving us the range, because you had the relationship between Shaw's character and Idris Elba's character, and it was complex, and it kept evolving the more you saw them interact on screen. And by the end, when you find out what they meant to each other and how they interacted with one another, it was so fascinating, and it adds a whole nother dimension to Shaw's character and Idris Elba's.
It's
By the
also-
way, I'm sorry, I know Idris Elba's character in the film has a name, but it's Idris Elba.
He's Idris Elba,
playing
yeah.
Black Superman.
Like that was definitely like the most Idris Elba I've ever seen.
I don't think that's accurate. We still haven't seen the Cats movie yet, have we?
Well, you're right. You got me there.
So, yeah, Hobbs and Shaw was just a really fascinating movie. I think if you like the Fast and Furious series, you will like Hobbs and Shaw, but I don't think you should go in expecting Fast and Furious. I think you should go in expecting a movie that stands on its own, but it stands as an extension of the universe. So we're going to call it the Fast and Furious Cinematic Universe, because this makes 9 movies now. And Marvel only took like maybe 3 or 4 to start calling themselves a cinematic universe.
True.
So Fast and Furious Cinematic Universe is real, and it is in a theater near you.
I think Hobbs and Shaw belongs in a class of action movies of its own, because again, like I said, a lot of the big name action movies, they don't have a lot of heart.
I think there are a couple of movies that make an exception for that, and the
I
only
know.
one I can think of is John Wick.
That was good.
That was my
The
one
Eraser,
exception.
The Hitman's Bodyguard.
The Hitman's Bodyguard, yes. I think we need more action movies with people of color and that portray like a softer side to them.
Yeah.
So
I'm
you
sorry,
should
this-
see Fast and Furious no matter who you are. I think if you like the Fast and Furious movies, if you didn't like them, if you want to see it as a continuation, if you want to see it as a standalone, I think it works well either way.
I think you call this like a AU.
I called it an alternate universe spin-off of Fast and Furious, because it's like Fast and Furious happened and then that universe exists, but then someone was just like, hey, let's split these universes and then just keep it going.
This movie made me excited to see other Fast and Furious movies, pretty much.
Oh, and if you do like the Fast and Furious editing where you get to see inside the cars, I promise you, Hobbs and Shaw delivers. It has much better graphics, but it delivers. I did not know it was possible to be attracted to vehicles, but obviously Transformers and Fast and
Please
Furious
stop.
live
No.
to prove me wrong.
Please stop. Take
I
it
will
back.
admit my
Take it
sins
back. No.
on public YouTube.
Oh,
You
Lord.
cannot shame me.
I will. I can and I will.
You can try, but I will not be shamed.
God. I do hate to admit that there are some pretty nice looking cars in that movie. Like, I know when a car looks nice, but there's like this one like truck head that they're driving in at some point. I was like, wow, that car looks really, really cute. Like,
Even
cool.
at the end, even like the older cars were so nicely designed. I was just like, am I thirsting over cars that I will never buy? Like, Fast and Furious is done so well because, especially this movie, it's done so well because even if you don't care about these cars specifically, the way these movies are shot makes you care about them. Fast and Furious, I think Fast and Furious is very important in that it makes the vehicles, the modes of transport, a character in itself. Our middling review is go see Fast and Furious. Not Fast and Furious. Our middling review is go see Hobbes and Shaw. It is an amazing movie to watch, and you will have fun.
You will have the time of your life, honestly.
Thank you for checking in with us today.
Bye.